of African infrastructure and promoting African businesses, so both travelers and the communities they visit receive beneficial exchanges. At Danful, we understand the importance of connectivity, and we have created a model which provides bespoke experiences based on your passions or hobbies. With us, expect a long-lasting spiritual bond between you and your destinations. Live, love, Danful, Africa. To learn more, visit danful.africa.
At the Okoli Law Group, we specialize in producing justice. If you or a loved one in the Atlanta metro area is facing serious criminal charges, then you need serious legal representation.
The Okoli Law Group is here for you. The Okoli Law Group is here for us.
The Okoli Law Group, serious legal representation.
Peace, fam. We are live again. Dynast Amir, search for Huru. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining. Hit that like button. You guys know the drill. Hit that like button. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe. All that good stuff. We have a special guest with us. She is in the queue. She'll be joining us here once I get through the announcements. But yeah, looking forward to Senegal. We leave for Senegal Saturday, and I'm excited about Senegal. Y'all know I love Senegal. Senegal, it's just and it's my fault, y'all. It's my fault. I don't speak the language, and it's really a shame. It's really a shame that I do not speak the language, and I only have to blame myself for that. But I'm gonna learn it. I have to learn Yoruba, I have to learn Wolof, and I have to learn French. And come on, Dynast, come on, and Creole. Those are on the must have to do list. I have to do it, and I will. Don't count me out. Do not count me out. Yeah, I've had this Hawk shirt for about 10 years now. I've had this Hawk shirt for a minute. Yeah, that's the topic. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Where are you now? I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in Atlanta. I'll be here till Friday. Friday, head to New York. Saturday, we head to Senegal. And I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Let's get into the announcements. We're rolling to Senegal on Saturday. If you want to roll, hit me up. We're also going to Nigeria in August for the Oshun Festival. That's August 2nd to the 11th. If you're interested in joining, please visit Danfo, that's DANFO.Africa to learn more. Also, we're doing Zanzibar and Kenya in September. Oh, just guys, special announcement. I'm partnering with Traverse Culture. This Kenya trip is going to be special because we're going to be focusing on medical tourism and real estate. And I wanted to make sure it's done the right way. So on that portion, we're going to be partnering with Traverse Culture on that. They were doing Ghana and Ivory Coast in that's going to be in November, Sierra Leone November, then Benin Republic in January. Guys, everybody's welcome. So listen, everybody's welcome to this chat. Okay, everybody. Again, everybody is welcome to this chat. Guys, it just kind of annoys me a little bit when people ask, why are you here? Let them be here. Let them be here. They are more than welcome to join us. But this is the Danfo.Africa site. Check it out. Love to have you. Without further ado, we're going to bring our sister on, Nakira G, Griot of the Diaspora. And today's topic, there's a delineation movement going on. Delineation. That's the word of the day now. And so if you're delineating, do you, because the rhetoric I hear, from a lot of the delineators, like, do you really consider yourself part of the greater diaspora at this point? So we're going to have the conversation. If you guys want to call in and add to the convo, we'll put the link in the chat, and you're more than welcome to add to the conversation. Do I think the citizenship program Salon will be back in November? I don't know. Like, I really don't know. All we know is it's on hold for now. Yeah. I mean, those who, and I know everybody, everybody has their, I don't know, issues that might arise, and for some reason can't make it or whatever. But yeah, November, I tell people November of 2023 was the last year where you could come and get your citizenship in a 10-day period. Them days are over. They changed the rules as far as you had to come twice. And we have people in the queue that are still waiting to get the green light to come get their passports in November. Or I'm sorry, or whenever they've already done their first trip, because you have to come twice now. So hopefully, the process gets back started, and these people get out of queue and get their passports. So, but we'll wait and see. It's a waiting game. As she drinks her coffee or tea, how you doing?
Yes, it's coffee. I'm good. Also, it's Nakira G, hard I.
Nakira. I'm sorry, I said Nakira. Sorry about that. Nakira.
You're totally fine.
Nakira G. I appreciate it. Have you been to Senegal before?
No, I have not. I've only been to Togo and Benin.
Okay, you're crackling. Your mic.
Is it better?
No, it's still crackling.
Okay, 1 second. How is it?
Still cracking. Still crackling.
Okay.
Guys, press 1 in the chat room if it's crackling. Press 2 if it's not. Just want to make sure it's not on my end, but it's still crackling. But yeah, as far as the citizenship program goes, we're in a holding pattern. That's all I know. Yeah, it's crackling. You're on mute now, but yeah, it's everybody's saying it's crackling. Go ahead.
How's the sound now?
Better. There you go.
It's fine. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. We're good to go. All right. So, hopefully, like I said, the citizenship program will get green lighted again, but right now it's on pause. And I'll say this, with everything that's going on, Sierra Leone has their reason, and I would say I understand. So now we just got to see how it's a win-win for both sides and take it from there. But Nakira G, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, y'all. Hopefully some of you guys have already been subscribed to my YouTube, or you guys are coming in from TikTok, but I am Nakira G, also known as Griot the Diaspora. I started my YouTube channel in 2022 while I was living in Ghana. And yeah, I've been going to Ghana since 2013. I'm a study abroad alumni of University of Ghana. And I've been going to Ghana a bunch of times. I lived in Ghana from 2022 to 2025. I recently just came back last year. I will be back. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
How was your experience at University of Accra, right? University of Ghana?
University of Ghana, Legon, yeah, in Accra.
Legon, in Accra. Okay. How was that experience?
I mean, I loved it. My bachelor's is in Black Studies, Africana Studies. So I was a part of the Institute of African Studies. So, I mean, I loved it. I had a full schedule, 6 classes per semester. I lived on campus. So,
Mhm.
the power was out frequently. That was back in the day, before Uber, before a lot of the, things that are there now.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was fun. Obviously, it was like, new, but I would do it again.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So delineation or diaspora. That's an interesting topic. So Greg in the chat room is saying, is Black America part of the African diaspora? The answer is yes. Are Black Americans African? The answer is no. It's not really that hard of a concept uh to grasp. Black Americans are no more African than the whites in America are English. Let's unpack that.
I mean, I don't really think that there's anything to unpack. I don't compare myself to white people. So if you only understand yourself through the eyes of a white person, that's a personal thing.
Mhm.
I think that to be particularly a part of the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade is a very particular experience. And all of us do not have the same exact lineage. All of us are not mixed with the same things. Some of y'all are a little bit more mixed up than others. So I just feel like it's one thing to try to create like the other term that they love to use is flat blackness. Um,
Hold on, stop. That's new. I never heard that. That's new.
yeah, they basically feel like they don't want to be considered African. They don't want Africans to be able to take on our culture and all this flat blackness identity. But to be Black American in the way that they're describing it, they're already performing flat blackness because we all don't share the same culture, in my personal opinion.
Mhm.
I don't share the same exact culture as every single Black American person in this country. So even the term Black culture, Black community, those are already examples of performing this flat blackness that people seem to be so afraid of. But yeah, I just feel like this idea that if one person identifies with the continent or identifies with their African heritage, that all of a sudden it's a problem to people who want to be nationalistic or people who are
Mhm.
so proud to be American. And I just feel like those are decisions that we individually can make. If you're very proud to be an American, you're very proud of the being a nationalist, that doesn't mean that every single Black person has to be the same thing.
Right. What so I just found out about a new term called Solon. Are you familiar with that term? Is that like flat blackness, Solon? Are you familiar with Solon?
I've seen it online. I've never met someone with that identity, but I've seen it online. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um so the lineation in diaspora, I just, it's like you said, there's like certain, like within the delineation, there's people delineating because like there's the delineation, like Greg said, we're still part of African diaspora, we're just not African. Then there's part of the delineation saying we're Native American Indians, and where the slave ships at. Like, where's this disconnect?
Um, I think that a lot of people's parents failed in a lot of different ways. I think that because at least for me, I understand my blackness through my parents, through the
Mhm.
family that I grew up with. I identify with my parents. I identify with my grandparents. People that I did not have to look up online. I did not need to look them up in a DNA test. I didn't need to go to the library and ask for records. I just identify with what my parents are. So I can't really speak on like where it came from. Obviously, we know that the different people who, come up online and they become, popular and stuff like that, then there's obviously that situation. But the concept of the delineation situation is very new to
Nakara,
me.
real quick, is the other mic on? Because you're starting to crackle again. I don't know if it like cut on its
Really?
own. Yeah, you're crackling again. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't,
Somebody in the chat room said it crackling is back. Yeah, you're crackling again.
I'm not sure because I'm on my laptop. I'm not sure. Let
Yeah,
me
yeah,
see.
you're crackling. Yeah, yeah. Everybody's saying you're crackling again.
Okay, hold on.
Guys, hit the like button again. Please hit that like button. And we'll put the links in the chat room. If you guys want to call in and add to the convo, you got a question, you're more than welcome to click on the link and add to the conversation. But yeah, link is in the chat room. If you want to come on, you're more than welcome to come on. Not on other feed. Ooh, okay. Yeah, somebody says crackling. You're mute. You're mute. Okay. If you're in the chat room, go ahead.
Is it still testing,
No,
testing?
you sound good. You sound good.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound good. That's a nice mic. You
Let's
sound
try
real
this
good.
again.
Okay. But go ahead. But we got
Are
a
you sure
call
it's
or two.
okay?
No, you sound good. You sound good.
Okay,
You sound
cool.
nice and crisp.
I don't remember where I left off at, but yeah, for me, I think that the concept of delineating, I just don't really understand the benefit of it. I don't really understand the benefit of being like, oh, I'm not African. And I also think that there's a very big difference in saying that I'm not African at all and saying that I don't have the exact same heritage or the exact same culture as obviously 2,000 plus tribes on the continent. However, I do think that us me, people who know that the slave ships are real,
Mhm.
people that know that I am a descendant of the transatlantic slave trade. I do think that we are a special class of people at this particular time because of what happened. And I
Mhm.
think that a part of our culture in America has always been about discovery. It has always been about rebellion. It has always been about resistance. And that resistance and that rebellion and that discovery has always been linked to Africa.
Mhm.
So I choose not to honor the ways in which colonization and people who hate us have purposely and intentionally delineated us from the continent because that was a tool, that was a weapon. So I don't identify with something that only benefits white supremacy.
Mhm. Wash, go ahead.
How you guys doing? Greetings from Germany, but I am American and from Oklahoma. Lived on reservations, and what she said is 100% true. What Neely Fuller would always say is that you got to follow the logic, and what you got to see is that this very strange FBA fight with people of the diaspora. We're all black people of melanated skin, and that's all that matters in a system of white supremacy. So from a global stand, I see how us as Americans have kind of had this kind of vanity about black culture and thinking that our American black culture is the black culture of the globe. And we have to understand that the black culture that we have of America today is nothing but a reaction of black culture of today is just a reaction of white supremacy of America. We've forgotten our original religion of America. We've lost our mother tongue. That's the difference between us and the diaspora people here on this side of the world. Even though there's black people here in Germany, they still have their mother tongue of Africa. And so that travels with them. But us as black Americans, we've lost our original mother tongue, and our mother tongue is now English. So that's one of the main differences between us, and we have to say, like, and let them understand, like, we've lost it. We're trying to rediscover it. And all of us came from one landmass. You can see the geography. You can see where some pieces of America connected to some pieces of Africa. So when you really break it all down, it was all one landmass. We all were of one people. Black people were the original people of all lands. Japan were the original they were melanated dark skins. In Ireland, they were dark skinned. Like, so we have to get off this whole thing of we were here first. It doesn't matter. We're all black people on this planet with melanated skin, hoping to achieve universal justice and tear down the system of white supremacy. And that's it.
Okay. Nakara, you want to add to that before I pass it to Skywalker?
No, go ahead. I'll wait
Go,
for everyone to go.
go ahead, Skywalker. And guys, we're also streaming on Griot Diaspora as well. For those that don't know, this is a dual stream. And if you're on my page, make sure you subscribe to Nakira at Griot the Diaspora. All right, go ahead, Skywalker. Oh, he dropped off. All right, Dr. Angela M. Sales, go ahead. That say it right. Is it sales or is it say less?
Sales.
Or is it say less? Is it
Sometimes
say
I need
less?
to say less. Yes.
Is it Dr. Angela M. Say less?
I'm gonna say more tonight, but it's sales and
Sales. Okay, go ahead.
You had it right the first time. Thank you. I'm tuning in from Cleveland, Ohio. I identify as a foundational Black American and someone that used to identify as a Garveyite. I'm kind of trying to work through that currently.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. It's a question.
Yes.
No, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
Well, I would also say I probably did identify as someone who believed in the Pan-African ideology some time ago, but I'm going through an evolution as our culture is actually going through an evolution. But I'll let you ask your question. I'm
starting to notice that a lot of FBA now, they're on this, well, not that many slaves came over and where the ship's at, and we were already here. So are you like part of that FBA group, or like
I don't know about the different FBA groups. The reason why I identify as an FBA, because it's based on my understanding that foundational Black American is a lineage. And that means that you can trace your bloodline back to the slave trade here in America. And I'm able to do that. So that's why I identify as a foundational Black American. I can trace at least two out of the 4 of my trees back to 1817 and even all the way back to the 1500s, which were back in Europe, at least the name. So that's why I identify as a foundational Black American. And I also kind of subscribe to the fact that America, the foundations of America were built by Black Americans, although we were in enslavement. So to me, is pretty straightforward. But I wanted to address your question on the disconnect. And why there's a disconnect between diasporans and Africans or Black Americans. The disconnect is centered in the reparations claim. Okay. I think that is what creates the separation because for many years, from I guess the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, when our enslaved people became, free and then started fighting for rights, voting rights, equality, civil rights. We've been doing resistance for a long time, even up to the fact that Black Americans were pivotal in the fight for the release of Nelson Mandela back in South Africa, and also identify with, Kwame Nkrumah and Julius Nyerere and the freedom fighters that were in Africa. We were at the forefront of that with leadership under, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and all the names that we can name that we learned about. And so I think there's an agreement that Pan-Africanism was really birthed in America, like the ideology.
I would agree with that.
Okay. So that we're all brothers and sisters. So I think now if we were approaching each other as brother and sisters, there's a couple of dynamics that's at play. We recognize Africa as our home or our motherland or our birthplace of our ancestors, which means that it's our mother.
So do you consider yourself part of the African diaspora?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I do, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So if, me considering myself part of the African diaspora family and being disconnected from my mother, at some point when I find my way back to my mother, I have an expectation of a certain treatment. And that treatment doesn't really exist in the way that we expect it to as long lost children. We're treated, I've been to Africa a lot, and I'm kind of digressing from my first point about reparations. Go ahead. But just in terms of the relationship, when we go back, we're just treated as Mzungu, right? We're treated as ATM machines. We're treated as people who have money. We're treated transactionally for the most part. Now, there are instances where we build relationships that takes time, but in general, we're treated like any other foreigner when it comes to citizenship, ability to return. You have to invest $75,000 or $150,000. Like a transaction has to take place for you to get a green card, a residency, a work permit. So that's not exactly a mother-child relationship. You know, if my child is gone and comes back, I'm going to welcome you. I'm going to give you a meal, a bed to sleep. You know, you can take a shower. I'm going to welcome you back in a certain way. That's not the relationship that Black Americans have with Africa. And I think after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, it's like, okay, we begging y'all. In addition, you are brothers and sisters, and you come here to America, and then you don't even vibe with us. Like you put, you know, white folks over building a relationship with us who are your long lost brothers and sisters. So it kind of becomes abusive if it was a one-to-one relationship. And after years and years of abuse, yeah, you're going to get fed up. Like, okay, we cool. Keep that same energy, and we're going to deal with our brothers and sisters over here, and we're going to build and do what we have to do here, because we chasing wind at this point. So I think that's part of the framing of why people are identifying and kind of tribalizing into foundational Black America. So that's aside from the indigenous argument. That's just based on relationship. Like, can we get a policy? Like, if besides George Floyd, you know, we have so many people brutalized and so many injustices. Not one single African government is standing up for us over here. So that's like, we're still disconnected. And we'll come to the Ghana situation in a minute, which is centered around reparations. And so that is like a win-lose situation for Black Americans, because Black Americans have championed Pan-Africanism and have got the short end of the stick of being that champion, haven't really realized any real benefits of being the champion other than being murdered and broke, right? I mean, so now it's like, okay, we've been done a harm, not only by this country, but we've also been done a harm by Africans who were part of those transactions. And so when it's time for our harm to be repaired, Black Americans feel like that should come to us. So now in comes Ghana last month, right, to the United Nations. And that started off last year at the African Union, because it was the year of reparatory justice at the African Union. And so we did that for the whole year. And President Mahama championed that cause of reparations and brought it here to New York City, to the United Nations. 123 nations voted in favor of, you know, recognizing the enslavement of as the gravest crime against humanity. And to me, that was a win, because it did show solidarity among the African nations, and that if we stick together, we can actually get something passed. So that was wonderful. We know who abstained: the US, Israel, and Argentina. And most of the European countries, I think it was 55 of them. No, they abstained. The 3 voted no, right? They voted no. 3 voted no, 55, I think, abstained, and then it passed. So that was good. But the issue comes in now is that it's been recognized and acknowledged, but the president also asked for a diaspora fund. And the argument is that, oh, well, Ghana and Africa has also suffered harm because our children were stripped away from us. And what gains could we have realized as an African country if those brothers and sisters had not been, you know, enslaved? And also, can we have a little money to fix up these dungeons that we call castles? So that presents a problem for some Black Americans. Like, wait a minute, hold up. Okay, we happy you champion reparations, but you just gonna come in and, you know, grab some money and not really, you know, be the voice of us. So I think those are some of the layers that may be missing or need to be considered in this conversation while we're trying to figure out why there's a delineation, and also, you know, are Black Americans part of the diaspora? So I'll land my plane. Thank you.
And Nakara, you wanna respond to that, and then I'll pass the good King Justice.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
You back crackling.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just make one point to ask her real quick, or just kind of to build on what she just said?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm from Langston University. I was a campus baby, so an HBCU. And I think one of the things that we also don't think about is what was their experience.
Campus baby.
Yeah, my mother was a professor at Langston University. I was pretty much a campus baby.
Okay, that's what that means. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what campus baby means. I don't, I didn't know.
What did you think it would mean? What?
I
Now,
have no.
as a
I have
bartender,
no clue.
I got. What did you think campus baby meant?
That you maybe hung out there. Your mom was while she was in school.
Okay,
Got
all right.
pregnant with you. It's a
I thought
number
it
of
was like
things.
a. Okay, all right. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
I'm a bartender here. I speak to Africans and their college experience, and when they came to America in college, especially in the '80s and '90s at the HBCUs, their experience with Black Americans on a college level, their peer group, was very much of a bullying, degrading experience. Now, some of us, kind of welcomed them in, but most of us pointed and laughed and made fun of them for various different reasons. And so that carried over. And so now those people in the '80s, 20s, now they're in their 40s and 50s and, our age. And those are the people and they've told their younger people what to expect when they send their kids to America. And they don't, that's why there's a difference. They know that they're going to get bullied. They know they're going to get, made fun of within our culture in America. So that's why on a basic level, there's never really any true unity because we've never accepted them without making fun of them in a degrading way and making fun of their features in a degrading way until maybe in the last 15 years with the majority of us as a culture in America. Before then, in the '80s and the '90s, we treated them like shit. And so this is the alchemy of that.
Nakara, let's see if you
How is it now?
sound good. You sound good.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah, I just want to again address the particular point about the treatment and this transaction that people are talking about. I do think that it becomes a time where, for me at least, again, because I don't expect for everybody to have the same identity. I'm not going to change my identity. I'm not going to change how I feel about my identity because of a couple of negative experiences that I may have. Because if that's the case, then I would change my identity based off of the experiences that I have in my own country with Black Americans, who are the only people that have disrespected me to the utmost degree. I've never been in these situations where I'm like, oh my God, my life is threatened. Oh my God, these people are treating me so, so horribly, other than my own people. And so I have the higher racial self-esteem to not do that. And so for me, as somebody who has lived in Ghana, not just visited, lived in Ghana, started businesses in Ghana, worked with other people, locals, as well as other diasporans, there are going to be negative experiences. As somebody who went to college in Ghana, I understand that there is a deep-rooted colonization that is happening. Just like how I understand with Black Americans. When I speak to Black Americans and ask about our history, not every single Black American that I meet knows our history. Not every single person is my I don't know if
No,
that's somebody that's
that's
okay.
somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't, I think that again, like you can see the chat, you see how disrespectful Black Americans are. Just because I love going to Ghana, love going to Africa, look at the responses. That's what our people, that's how we talk to each other. So I get really confused when we make it seem like we just are so righteous and we just, oh my God, every time I go to the grocery store and see another Black person, we just hugging and kissing and we just treat each other with so. I just get really confused with that because, again, the only people that disrespect me on this internet, because y'all never have the smoke to do it in person. The only people who do it on this internet are my own people who live in the same country. So I think that, again, like we have to also be honest about the limited life experience many of us have. I didn't have those negative experiences. I understand the bullying and all that type of stuff. I didn't get bullied in school, so I can't speak on that. I grew up in Compton, California, specifically. My parents are from Los Angeles. My grandparents are from Kansas and Mississippi. And
I got to ask what part of Mississippi. I just got to ask. I'm sorry.
I believe Jackson.
Okay, that's where my
I
family.
believe
Shout
Jackson,
out.
but
I
they
used to go to
moved.
Piney Woods Country Life School right below Jackson.
Yeah, I've never been to Mississippi, but my dad's
Okay.
family moved to Stockton, moved to Northern California before coming down to LA. My mom's family came from Kansas. So I'm just as Black American as everybody else. I'm just as connected to this nation just as anybody else. I don't believe that there needs to be a hierarchy of who gets to go and do their research. And because you have the time to do the research or the whatever resources, I guess that puts you on a group hierarchy or a racial hierarchy or a cultural hierarchy over other people who don't really feel like they need to do that, because I look in the mirror and I see a Black person. So for me, that there's certain things that I think become really disingenuous when we talk about this transactional experience, because I mean, that could be the same about us here. We're transactional too. Our celebrities are transactional. Our business owners are transactional.
Politicians are
Our
transactional.
politicians are transactional. When I go and see random Black people out in the street, it's very transactional, right? And I'm from LA, so I grew up in the Hollywood area as well. Very transactional. So I think that for me, again, like as a Black Studies scholar, as somebody whose degrees, bachelor's and masters, are in Africana Studies and Black Studies, I have a certain level of cultural grace and understanding that my professors, that all of my Black professors, never had a white professor with African studies and Africana studies. All of my professors have instilled in me and academically trained me to understand what colonization has done to all of us. There is a reality that here in America, we are fighting for our Black history to be told correctly. We know that it has not been told correctly in its full entirety. That is something that we know from elementary school to middle school to high school. We know that the full story of Martin Luther King is not told. We know the full story
Facts.
of Malcolm X is not told. We know the full story of Black Panthers is not told. Like, we know that. And I'm pretty sure that if more of us knew that and we had that research and time and resources that some of you do, that we would also walk through this world a little bit differently. And so I know that to be the same over on the continent. Now, again, for me, I've had way too many positive experiences with African people. So I can't speak for people who have met one or two or three African people and you had a negative experience and you held on to that, or for the Africans who had one or two or three negative experiences with Black Americans and they've held on to that. I can't speak to that. I have 13 years of experience on the continent. So for me, I'm very lucky and very blessed that I can say that I've had way more positive experiences, even when I have to educate people on my
Man,
history.
the crackling's coming back. I don't
Okay.
know what it is. Yeah. Maybe turn the mic off and turn it back on.
No, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. Let me read the super chat. Let's see here. Elvis Morris 7271. Thank you for $10 holla. Can African Americans make a case for reparations at the United Nations as citizens of the United States? If so, should Ghana and African Union take a step back and allow African Americans to lead? Nakara, let's see if your mic's working.
How is it?
Still crackling.
Can I respond to that question?
Go ahead. I got past the good King Justice because he's been waiting.
You want me to wait?
Well, let good King Justice go, then I'll let you respond. Go ahead,
Okay.
good King Justice.
Cool. Peace. You get me?
We hear you.
All right. Look, FBA is not a lineage. All right. Let's get that straight right now. We are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, and it's not a lineage for a simple reason that none of our grandparents ever uttered the words FBA. They might have called themselves Negro. They might have called themselves color. They might have called themselves Black. They never said we are foundational Black Americans. That was made up in 2019, 2020 by Tariq Nasheed. Furthermore, to answer the question and the topic of the show, we are part of the diaspora. The conflict comes in when we look at these problems from the individual aspect as opposed to the political and governmental aspect. A Jamaican and a Haitian are part of the diaspora too, but they have nations. The African American, the Black American does not have a nation. We are still under our former slave master. So that's where the disconnect is. And that's also the problem when it comes to the reparation claim, because all nations have their own claims from their various slave masters. We have a claim from the people we was enslaved by. So does the Haitians, so does the Jamaicans. The Africans have claims for reparations for colonialism, the Berlin Conference. So that's where these things get conflated. But we are part of the diaspora, and the FBA ain't a lineage. And I'll pass the mic.
May I just ask him a quick question? And this is not an argument or anything, but just Do you believe that there was dark-skinned melanated people on American land before?
No,
You don't think there was
dark skin?
dark-skinned?
When you say dark skin, yeah, it's Mexicans. That's the same color as me.
No, sir. Do you think they were dark-skinned tribes who?
They was not us. They weren't us. No.
Okay, so do you believe there was dark-skinned people on the continent before the colonizers came? Darker than you, darker than me.
The American continent, North America.
Yes.
Yes, Aztecs and Mayans. That's not us, brother. We are African.
Okay.
Very African.
Okay. Do you understand that there was
Yorubas, Fulanis, Tias, Bamalikes, Bambadas, Malinkes?
Have you not seen that there was dark-skinned indigenous tribes of Africa? The 5 civilized tribes were the ones that were given weapons from the white supremacy and to eradicate the other tribes of America that were dark-skinned tribes. Do you understand that much, or do you disagree with that?
We come from Africa, fam. I don't know how many times I got to say it.
Sir,
how many different ways I got to say it.
There's never been a situation where war or colonization has happened where they completely eradicated the people of that land. They subjugate those people, meaning they take the women of those people and they either castrate the men and have them work as slaves, or they.
Where is the enclave of these black Indians that still exist today, bro? In America.
What is your question, sir?
In every place, every landmass, the indigenous people, they still are living in that landmass. It's still Yorubas, despite the fact that Africa got colonized. Where are the black Indian tribes, the enclave?
They've been eradicated through the 5 civilized tribes.
That because they never existed, fam.
Sir, they did. Sir, there was hundreds of dark-skinned tribes of America.
In your
and
mind.
They were eradicated, and most of them in the. Wait, what is your question, sir?
It was no dark-skinned native tribe that we come from.
Sir, yes, there was. You can seriously look back and find all types of evidence that is a legit factual statement that I'm making.
You believe the Grand Canyon is Egypt, huh?
No, I don't believe the Grand. Wait, no.
You believe Mansa Musa, Big Brother, came over here, and
sir,
that's how he got his throne?
If we're having a conversation, we're having a conversation. Everything I'm saying is beyond logical and factual.
It's not logical.
Which part is not logical?
That we come from Native Americans. That ain't logical.
Those are okay. Those were the okay. Do you not think? Okay, in the system of white supremacy, don't think that the white people are not like mad scientists in the way that they breed and interbreed us. Okay, so the Native Americans that you see today that are on the tribes, they have been delineated from what their original native blood is. That's just the truth of it. The ones that we see today are not the same ones that look like they looked 300 or 500 years ago, even 1,000 years ago. That's just the truth.
You're not us. We are not Mayans and Aztecs and Incas.
I never said that we were. All I say, and maybe if I'm wrong, but I'm saying that. No, sir, you can't just say that. Okay,
we're not Native Americans.
No, we're not Native Americans. We're something different.
We don't descend from Native Americans. We descend from African people.
Sir, they descended.
Let the car speak. And I got to pass. You sound good. Go ahead, and then I got to pass it to Afro Man.
Yeah. Okay. So because I don't know where the conversation's going. So the thing for me personally, again, is that we all understand. I hope. I can't say that. I hope that we all understand the breeding practices that have gone on by the different colonizers. Again, right? It is a choice for me, particularly, to choose to identify with the African descent part, right? Because they are the innocent people in this situation. So if being Native or indigenous makes you feel better, because you found that in your lineage, being white makes you feel better, you are more than welcome to identify as such. What I have a problem with is when everybody thinks that when they meet me or meet other people, that we're all supposed to be proud of all these other things that are within us, or things that are not even in our DNA. And just because it's in your DNA, you want it to be in mine. If you want to spend money on figuring out which tribe of Native Americans and which ones are going to accept you, you're perfectly you can do that. That I just want us to stop doing this thing where it's like, well, this is what I believe in. And it's like, okay, so what am I supposed to do with that? Do you want to play dominoes? Do you want to celebrate your birthday? What am I supposed to do with that? You believe that, or you found that in your DNA. I don't know what else I can do with that information. So now what? After you realize that you have a certain DNA and I do not, now what? Does that make you superior to me? Does that make your life more valuable than mine? What are we supposed to do after that conversation? That's just why I don't waste that part of the who was here thing, because I personally don't care who was here, who got mixed up, because I know that was breeding. I know that all of that was being done while people were not looking at it as humans. That was not being done out of love. That was not being done for us to even be here today. So regardless of what either one of you guys believe in, so now what?
Can I jump in? I think the reason why it's important, for me, it's both and. It's not either or, so I don't have an argument, except some of the logic is a little skewed, and I like to kind of root my responses in scholarship, information, and research. But I think the reason why it's important how we identify is because if some of our ancestors were already here before Columbus came, then there's a certain relationship that we have with this particular land. If some of our ancestors came on the boat and were promised land and a mule at some point and didn't receive it, then there was a harm that still has not been repaired. So, I understand that that's the significance of lineage and identifying, who your ancestors are. But I wanted to respond to the super chat question, and the brother alluded to it a little bit. Can African Americans represent themselves? How did he frame it? Oh, can African Americans make a case for reparations at the United Nations as citizens of the United States? And we've been doing that for many years. The We Charge Genocide campaign is decades old. It was brought by Paul Robeson, Malcolm X, the Fanons, Francis Fanon to the UN. The issue is that we are living in the United States and we're citizens of the US. Some people have dual citizenship, not talking about that, but if you were born here, you're a citizen. And so in the United Nations, the voice or the representation is made up of member states. And so because Black Americans are not a member state, even African diasporas in Europe, they're not a member state. We're inside of another state. Then we can advocate as civil society, but we don't have a vote as a collective body. And that's why CARICOM is actually making more progress right now in its relationship with the heads of states of Africa and the African Union. We will call it the Global South, is moving in a certain way where the Global North, those of diasporans that live in the Global North, are unable to, really have a voice at the UN. We can advocate, and we do that through the Permanent Forum for People of African Descent. It's the second decade for African people right now, and other mechanisms and instruments. But as Black Americans, we're not a state, and so that's why we can't really have a vote in any resolutions that happens in the UN. So I hope that answers your question, Brother Elvis Morris.
Okay, let me read these super chats. Kevin Dill, 1987. Thank you for $1.99. Holla. African
I
studies
hear.
away.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you fine. We hear you fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm definitely open to hear the scholarship and to hear the rooted information, because I just feel like if that's the case, then why are not Native Americans, who you may find in your DNA, why are they not fighting for you guys to get the reparations for those of you who are Afro-Indigenous?
Would you like me to answer that?
Hey, Dynast, can I talk now?
Hold on one second. I don't guys, give me a second. I don't think Nakara could hear us. Nakara can, yeah, she can't hear us. She can't hear us. She can't hear us. Nakara, what I'm saying is, Nakara, maybe leave and come back, because yeah.
I'll answer that real quick. Hold on.
Let her come back. Let me pass the mic. Let me read this last. Kevin Dill, thank you for $1.99. Holla. Go ahead, Skywalker. After Skywalker's vigilante.
Okay, Dynast. The issue with African Americans, first of all, we are obviously a part of the diaspora, but African Americans are suffering from a case of involuntary servitude. And unlike a lot of other Caribbean countries who are also a part of the diaspora, and as the brother just alluded to, he said that those along with the Caribbean, one of the unique factors about the Caribbeans is that they actually have a nation, but the African Americans, that we don't have a nation. We're just a large group of black people inside another nation for known reasons. And as a result of that, and we don't talk about this enough. And one of the brothers just mentioned language, but every time I bring up language, somebody's always trying to downplay language. But language is extremely important because it's the largest program and it's literally inside our brain. So if we don't really do a linguistic analysis and also let alone a psychoanalysis, we can't really understand the reason that we really even think the way we think. And that's why I always bring up Dr. Amos Wilson. Like Dr. Amos Wilson really, in my opinion, produced a true psychoanalysis of the black mind such that we can really understand the way that we believe, the way the things that we believe, and the way that we think the way that we think. And me being a lawyer, like I say, I'm in a challenge right now. One of the sister that you got on here as a guest just mentioned problems with the African curriculum. I mean, problems with the curriculum here in America. And I don't know if other places where you find black people like in Africa, I don't know if they share this same error with the curriculums with their children over there. But I know that in America, we got a group of black people in America who go to school from kindergarten to 12th grade. And let me let you know, this involuntary servitude thing, it's not just exclusive to like the young people. It's not just exclusive to the Pookie and Ray Rays. It's exclusive even it applies. Involuntary servitude applies even to the intellectual black people, the black people with the doctorate degrees and everything. And the reason for that is because like the sister just mentioned, our curriculum is so messed up, but we don't really understand what's really going on with these curriculums. And like I say all the time, Dynast, Brown v. Board of Education, which was the case that integrated schools, what's going on is that the school systems around America are taking an extra step from Brown v. Board of Education. In other words, Brown v. Board of Education held that separate but equal educational facilities was unconstitutional. And so what the schools are doing, they're trying to pretend as if same educational facilities also mean same education. And that's not the case. And as a result of us allowing them to take this extra step, as a result of us allowing them to pretend as if educational facilities also mean same education, that has allowed all of this large group of black people in America to only be educated in a Eurocentric curriculum. As a result, they have no sense of self, no sense of pride. They can't even take their degrees that they get in college, their engineering degrees, their aerodynamic degrees, all their law degrees, they can't even take these degrees and use them to build up their own community. Because all they do is take these degrees and build up someone else's community, because all that has to do with the type of mental conditioning, or in other words, the type of psycho conditioning that has been implemented in these schools on our children. As a result, it has imposed a psychoanalytic state or a psycho condition of involuntary servitude, which just means that you are in a state of servitude, but you are completely unconscious of that servitude, because the legal definition of involuntary means unconscious. It don't just mean that you didn't volunteer for something.
Hey, Scott Skywalker, Skywalker, let's kind of get back on topic.
But see, Dynast, that's the topic. I mean, that's the reason that we come up with all these different frameworks to get away from being African, right? We come up with all these different ways to negate being African. It don't even make sense. Matter of fact, as Dr. Amos Wilson teaches us, it's self-defeating and it's self-hatred. It don't even make sense. But the root to that is that, like the sister just said, we can only view the world through the lens of a European, because that's the only type of education we have, on top of using a European language to communicate with each other. The brother on the panel just mentioned language, right? Did you know? And the lady here, the sister here, she said she spent some time in Ghana, and I speak Chi, right? I'm a study of Chi. I read the Proverbs. I'm really fluent in Chi, which is crazy. Like I taught myself. But like a perfect example, Dynast. What I mean by this is that, do you know what the word for black is in Chi in Ghana, in the African language? Okay, one of the words is a BB. but that's not the word I'm talking about. Another word for black is toom, right? Toom, right? That means to be real black, right? But the word for can, the verb for to be able to, right? In English, the verb for to be able expresses with the word can, right? But in Chi, the verb for to be able to in Chi is expressed with the word to me, right? To me means to be able, but it also is the word for power. But guess what? It also has the root for the word black.
Skywalker, 35
I'm making a huge point here, Dynast. You got to understand me here. It also got the word.
I got to pass the mic, Skywalker. 35 seconds, please.
Okay, so the word, literally the word for black, in the black language, it literally means power or to be able, right? Whereas the word for black in English has the word lack in it, which means to be low, and the word white has the word height in it, which means to be high. So the very language that we are speaking doesn't even represent us properly. So we need to really understand the linguistic programming that we have, let alone the psychoanalyst that we need to undergo to really understand the reason that we come up with all this bullshit. Okay, Danny, so I'm done.
Go ahead, Vigilante.
All right, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, my boy is passionate. Okay. So this is what I'm gonna say. From everything that I've heard so far, the first thing that I'm gonna say is that I've never been treated bad by people that we would consider to be continental Africans. I was just on live earlier with a woman who is from the Igbo tribe, which is one of the tribes that I'm from. And we had a very beautiful and productive conversation on how to bridge the gap between acting in America and acting in Nigeria and what that looks like in real time. When I have my conversations with the people of the Mende and the Timni tribe, we have good conversations. The Balanta tribe, we have good conversations with that we talk about positivity and progression. To speak to what she said earlier about the United Nations, that was Malcolm's goal, and that was his dream when he got the support of the 33 African leaders for him to be able to go to the UN and talk about what was going on in Black America. If you ask me, I would say that he's looking down and he's smiling on what happened with the Ghana president and the representation that we got and the way that the votes went, if you ask me. When I talk to Bernice King and we have our conversations, I would think that her father was looking down and smiling as well too. I think that there's a lot of memory loss and the way that Muammar Gaddafi was trying to connect the diaspora with Farrakhan, and also the relationship that Du Bois had with, I think it's Kwame. I know I'm gonna pronounce his name wrong, but for those who know who that is, the first president of, yes. I think that people have a selective memory when it comes to us always attempting to connect this diaspora, and it's a forever thing. So when people say that Pan-Africanism is dead, that's always going to be a lie, because there's always going to be a longing for all of us to regroup with each other. We're seeing it right now in real time with I Show Speed being in the Caribbean. We're seeing it every single day. And as far as what she said about the tourism thing, I don't know any race or ethnicity that doesn't trade or that doesn't have economic systems within each other to benefit each other, or just to have any type of currency exchange within each other.
And nobody's not finessing. Everybody's finessing when it comes to trade and whatnot. That's so you can't hold that against them for finessing as well.
Yeah, I think that the word, I think that when it comes to finessing, I think that it really depends on because you can divide that into two things. You have different cultural practices based off of where you were raised, and you have a person blatantly just trying to do you wrong just because you're an outsider. So I think it really just depends on the type of finessing that's going on. But I've surrounded myself around good people here in America, and I'm surrounding myself around good people, and I'm planning on going to the continent later this year for my first time to visit. And because I've set myself up so well, I've surrounded myself around a bunch of great people. The only time that I hear the HAT being thrown around toward each other is when FBAs try to throw it at people who believe who identify more with being Pan-African. And I'm not really sure where that comes from. And I just want to see a better tomorrow for us. Bernice has agreed to that. When I talk to the local politicians, especially the ones that are BLK about it, they agree that they want to see a better tomorrow and that not be a part of the tomorrow. And I really just want to know what the plan is, especially as far as the FBA. I want to know what exactly is the goal. What do you want to do in America? And how can a person who would consider themselves to be Pan-African help in what you're trying to do, if you even want the help? Just be clear on the goals. Leave the HAT
They don't want the
speech.
help, bro. They don't want the help.
Are you asking me this? Because are you asking me this?
If you have an answer, I don't mind you answering.
Absolutely, I do.
I'll
make it super quick.
Watch real quick.
Yes.
You could respond, give him the answer. I know you had a question for Nakira, so or you want to respond to Nakira too. So go ahead and respond.
For the art of conversation, I'll answer this one because that's what the chat is hearing, right? So I'll answer that quick, and then I'll let other people jump in from what I say on that. Once we as Black Americans delineate from Christianity and this Masonic Christianity that's kind of programmed us, and rediscover Mother Earth and indigenous religion, because that's the closest we can get to what our mother tongue and mother religion was. Once we get back on that, we go to the reservations, because I'm from reservations. I've seen reservations. It's nothing but land that we could be using to deconstruct this bullshit ideology that's been programmed on us, and almost for 2 or 3 generations, just live and exist in harmony and peace, and kind of get back to being in the water, get back to being natural, get back to being with Mother Earth, study Tao's. All the religions come from the diaspora. So we need to rediscover all that and deconstruct ourselves from Christianity. And then from that, get some of the benefits, because again, when you're on the reservations, the governments are limited on how they can tax you, deal with you, and even subjugate you. Indigenous people have a lot of rights that we as Black Americans do not understand that we have and should have. And if we get on the reservations, we have a certain protection where we can essentially just exist in harmony for a bit, and then come out of that with a concrete plan on what we can do to actually improve in this system of white supremacy. Because right now we need to just simply heal.
All right, Nakira, you could respond. I got past the Q butter.
Dynast, I think I'm next.
Oh, my bad, Afro Man. Let me do this, Afro Man. Let me let Nakira respond. Then I'll pass it to you. Then I pass the Q butter because you've been waiting. But go ahead, Nakira. Then I pass the Q butter.
All right.
I'm about to pass it to you. Then the Q butter.
How's my sound?
I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, speaking of scholarship and rooted information, I want everyone to be very clear that Ivan Van Sertima has been debunked for decades now. In my Black Indians course at SF State, and by my Afro-Indigenous professor that I had who can prove his lineage, there are multiple Mexican-American anthropologists. There are Black and African scholars, as well as Indigenous scholars who have debunked Ivan Van Sertima. So I just want that to be very clear, since we bringing up scholarship. So since we're off of that.
Who brought up scholarship?
Sorry?
Who brought up scholarships?
The woman prior said that she only goes off of scholarship and rooted evidence and information. And there are Indigenous people who have said that Ivan Van Sertima was incorrect. So I just want to make that clear. And based off of just kind of going off of what Vigilante said, I think that, again, it is really important to understand the goal. Because I think that when it comes to reparations, many of us can agree on Black Americans deserving reparations. I think that it's also really expansive to also acknowledge that we are not the only ones who went through enslavement. And we do not have one colonizer. We have multiple, especially when you include Louisiana. And things like that. And I'm from California. And when you talk about California, there are multiple colonizers outside of the British. So I think that when we expand that reparations conversation, obviously there is a very specific reparations that we can acquire And again, I'm not even clear on what reparations means to different people. If some people think that it's a stimulus check, I'm not interested in that, me personally. And again, I still want to understand what the goal is. And like Vigilante said, if the goal is for people to have clone-like mentalities and clone-like thinking, and to delineate and to not enjoy the multiplicity of cultures that we have the freedom to enjoy, because at no point when I'm in Ghana, when I'm speaking the language, Mikasa Tree as well, no one ever says, that's my language, don't speak it. When I wear their jewelry, no one ever says, take that off. When I'm wearing their clothes, no one ever says, that's my culture. But I can't say the same about here. So I think that is really interesting. So I just think that, again, like, I want to know what the goal is. I want to know what the overall goal is for all of the different 50 states who went through very different types of not only slavery, but how everyone became freed is also not linear. It's not the same, right? Some groups became freed in different ways and for different reasons. It became very specific groups of classed people with very specific intentions as well. So yeah, I'm very curious on what the goal is, and regardless of if somebody, wants to highlight the African part of their ancestry, what does that have to do with whether you get reparations or not? Because for me, as a Black American who has lineage in this country, I'm not in control of the census. I'm not in control of the government. I'm not in control of how you classify your identity. So I'm just curious as to why the vitriol is towards each other, since we're not transactional with each other. I'm just really curious as to why the vitriol is with each other instead of with the government.
All right, let me go ahead, Afro Man. I'll pass the cue butter. Go ahead, Afro Man.
Okay, thank you, Dynast. Peace to everyone on the panel. I think it is important that we understand, and I'm from Ghana, and so I have a perspective that is informed by my experience as a Ghanaian, but as well as being very familiar with the US and Black Americans. And I think what needs to be appreciated and understood is the fact that when it comes to the African diaspora, Black Americans occupy a unique position in that they are about 50 million people right now in terms of population in the US, and they are like a nation within a nation. And that's important because when you say Pan-Africanism is dead, it's not dead. It has evolved. And it's evolved beyond a point where Black Americans initially started it from. The phase or the epoch where Pan-Africanism basically moved around studies of ancient Egypt and discovering the Blackness of ancient Egypt and the builders of the pyramids. We have evolved and moved beyond that point. We have moved to the point where now it's about political Pan-Africanism. And so and that's important because Black America is not its own nation. And I've said this before, I've made this point before, if you want to see how Pan-Africanism is actually functioning and working in today's world, take a look at how Africa is relating with the Caribbean countries, okay? Jamaica, Barbados, Bermuda. Many of these countries don't require visas to travel to Africa, to many of the African countries. When you look at the fact that Black America is not involved in this because you are carrying the passport of a country that you do not control and govern. There is no way that we can say free visas for Black Americans alone without discriminating against every other American. And so that puts you guys in a unique position that sometimes make you feel that Pan-Africanism is dead when it's not dead. In fact, I would say Pan-Africanism has never been stronger than currently, than what it is currently. The second point that I want to make is on the issue of bad experiences between Africans and Black Americans. And I've been hearing this song played a lot of times. But I want us to also factor in the fact that Africans living in the US, I'm talking about Africans from the continent living in the US, have had very, very bad experiences. If you listen to people, I mean, celebrities like Michael Blackson, okay, who's Ghanaian, partly from Liberia, you would hear of his experiences. I remember watching Black American movies. If there's a Black American movie and there's an African character, that character is almost always caricatured in a way that you expect to find in a white movie. So if you look at Barbershop, look at the character from Africa, look at Coming to America, and a host of other Black American movies. Okay, you don't find the same.
Watch School Days.
Okay, I haven't watched that one. Unfortunately,
One minute there. I'll pass the cue, Butter. 1 minute.
Okay, so when you look at all of these aspects, you find out that one, Pan-Africanism is not dead. It has evolved beyond the conferences and the speeches about Egypt and the blackness of Egypt to the point where now it's a political movement. And because African Americans don't have a political government of their own, it is easy for them to look at it and say, well, what's happening to Pan-Africanism? Black America, in my opinion, was and is the biggest obstacle to the UN resolution that was implemented or placed by Ghana. I have not heard any opposition from the Caribbean countries. The biggest opposition has actually come from Black America. I'm not saying that all, I mean, we know that Black American leaders were involved in placing the resolution at the United Nations. So I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you look at the loudest voices, it has actually come from Black American. And I think that we have to relook, examine ourselves as Africans so that we can unite better and have a better plan and strategy, because our enemies are also getting better at organizing. So that's what I'll say for now.
Go ahead, Q Butter.
Yo, Dynast, what's good, family?
What's good, man? It's been a minute.
Hell yeah. Great convo. Sis, I had to go back and listen to what you were saying. You were definitely kicking gems. But I got to respond to the brother that just spoke. One, the internet is not the representation of Pan-Africanism. Most of the people that's on the internet with buzzes who parade into these conversations do not represent it. The TikTok views, this is coming from everybody. If you go on TikTok and you listen to Nigerians arguing with South Africans, that is not Pan-Africanism. If you listen to FBAs yelling at these, that is not Pan-Africanism. The issues and who held back America's support of reparations was white people, the same white people who are not supporting of reparations in America. Just because we don't have a continent, the political forefront of Black America was the foundation of the political forefront of much of the conversations in the Pan-African world. And it wasn't always about Hotepism. Like, it was not about that. It was very much about supporting the independence movement, because in the 50s and 60s, nobody was damn near independent. Most of the countries were trying to get the independence, and that's something that people forget, that majority of these countries we're discussing are like 50, 60, 70 years old. Would pick one: Trinidad, Panama, Jamaica. Like they're very young in their pursuit of, or rather in their relishing of their independence. And so to just blanket statement that everybody's about Egyptology, that is like, there are Black institutions in America that have been running 80, 70 years, just as long as some of your countries have been established, who have been dealing with the realities of working within a global system. And much of what we see in America is a global system. and the integrated aspect that we have to deal with in trying to find a point of sustainability and to differentiate our pursuit of sustainability and liberty as different than in other countries, when in a global system, majority of these fiat countries that we represent in Africa are not real governments. They do not represent the people. And so if people think that these governments in Africa who were established by the establishment and globalist empires, who gave them the allowance to say, here's your little tricklets of independence while you're underneath our parliamentary system, you're underneath our global system, you're underneath our economic system, you can go and run away. People think those are the real governments. And so people hold African nations accountable based off of these fiat governments. And so we have to understand both sides of the conversation and recognize that the reality of being a Pan-African is based off the reality that white folks are still doing and trying to maintain a position of power against Black people. And it's in our interest to find a way to work together, like the sister said, transactionally, so we can quantify it over time and actually have an impact that we can measure and actually predict what the effects will be over time. And I think that's a conversation that is going to happen and is happening, whether we like it the way the internet is inspiring it. I've watched Dynast push this conversation for literally 5-6 years. Like I'm saying, like there's other people that have done it, by myself. And so if we just keep pushing the conversation, and one thing I can say about Pan-Africans in America, we have a large amount of very well-educated people, well-established people who are some of the strong professionals. I could name attorneys right now, professors of departments, engineers, heads of the of boards who are stark Pan-Africans. They're not out here running and debating with Tariq Nasheed. They're running school boards. They're debating on policies. They're actually working in whether we like it or not, in and around this system to find ways to liberate and provide equality for Black people. And I think it's when I hear that, it's just, and that's across the board. That's from America to Jamaica to Nigeria. Black people are doing that. And I just rest there. Shout out to the sister. I just wanted to shout out to you.
Hey, Dynast, can I say one more thing before I get off?
Wait, can I just ask you one question?
There's an echo.
Yeah, Dynast, I'm just gonna say I'm about to get off real quick. I just wanted to say one more thing.
Oh, you got
I see you.
Well, 1 minute. Go ahead.
It's gonna be quick. Ain't too
Let
long.
me see what it is.
Oh, yeah, it's Skywalker.
It's Skywalker. You.
Oh, it's me. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's me.
While he's fixing his mic, I wanted to ask
let me pass the Passport King. He's been waiting, and I can pass it back to you, Wash. Go ahead, Passport King. Mute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dynast. Thank you for allowing me on to speak. I'll get right to the question. Let's see. Is Black America really part of the African diaspora? And I can speak for myself, but I will also think that many who identify with the increasing delineation movement in the United States, whether they go by Freedmen, Foundational Black American, or they go by ADOS, or they go by DOS or Sulan, I think collectively we would agree no. And let me say why. It's not because, we're ashamed of our heritage. I'm going to get to that in a moment. Can we be honest here? Can we? And I know people don't like my tone, they don't like my voice. I don't give a damn. Part of my language. I'm just going to speak it straight. Why are we pretending that Pan-Africanism and unity exists in Africa? Are we blind to what's been going on in South Africa the past week, 2 weeks? A borderline ethnic cleansing that could quickly become a genocide of foreign Africans from other nations in South Africa. And that's not the only country. There's also fighting in Ghana. And now someone say, okay, well, those are people from different African nations. Okay, cool. Let's look at any individual African nation. Inside of Nigeria, you got over 200 tribes. You got rampant tribalism between regions based on religions. There is no unity in Africa itself. So this constant push that it somehow needs to be on the backs of U.S. slavery descendants, i.e., freemen, foundational Black Americans. Some go by Diaz, some go by ADOS, some go by Sulan, some go by FBAs. This thing that is somehow our responsibility to be the world's savior and bring these Africans over into this. And look, I'm not trying to insult no one, but Pan-Africanism is a modern day religion. And Africa is like some heaven on earth. And we see how Africa is in reality, and it's not. And this also something else I'm going to speak on real quick. More than one person has stated that us here in USA, us who are U.S. slavery descendants, or the multiple other terms I mentioned that some go by, they say that we got no home. What the hell do you mean? We got U.S. passports. We got birth certificates. Our ancestry goes back centuries in this nation. Some of us could trace our lineage in the United States back before the United States existed to when it was the colonial America. Somehow we're just supposed to pretend our lineage don't exist and we're not foundational to this country, and we supposed to long for nations that even if a small percentage of our ancestors, and it's been proven less than 5% of enslaved Africans were brought to what we today know as the 13 colonies that became the United States. So if less than 5% was African enslaved, where did the other 95% come from? And yes, don't mention the breeding.
That's not what history says.
Oh, we mean that's not. Oh, you want to play that one, brother? No,
you just said 5% of the people. That's not what history says.
5% of the enslaved Africans that came across this transatlantic slave trade actually claimed to North America, and to be specific about North America, what was the 13 colonies that got absorbed into the United States? Less than 5%. The majority went to the Caribbean and also went to Brazil. This is a documented fact. You know, before you speak,
that's not what you
about
said.
to cut me off.
This is
not. Hold on. This is not. I'm pulling out a straight air.
That's not what
this is based on shipping laws, because you know, human beings that was enslaved, they was treated like any other commodity. They kept very detailed records. They know the percentages. This is not guesswork. So if only. And I think it was probably 4%. But I was just gonna say 5% for the sake of argument. If only 5% of modern day non-immigrant Black Americans, whether they go by freedmen, FBA, or ADOS or Sulan, because not everyone uses the same term. And I'm talking about the non-immigrant Black Americans, not immigrants from the Caribbean, not immigrants from Africa. If only 5% of our ancestors are enslaved Africans, where did the other 95% come from? Hold on, you're shaking your head. Hold on, I'm gonna show you.
You're conflating things,
hold on,
bro. That's not what they said.
Hold on,
they said a certain percentage
hold on.
was
You ain't
trafficked
cut
to the
me off.
United States. Not that 5% of our ancestors was African. Genius.
Hold on. Here's another point you're not considering.
You're misstating the data.
Since everyone that came to the U.S., well, the 13 colony
became United States.
Can I go straight off and say before I get off?
Hold on.
Hold on 1 second, Skywalker. You got a like a real bad echo, Skywalker. Hold on. Passmore, you got 45 seconds. I gotta pass the mic.
All right, I'm gonna finish up with this key point. I'm gonna show you how much certain people either don't know or they want to play dumb on. If all the Black peoples that came to the 13 colonies in the United States were all enslaved Africans, as some want to claim, where did the freedmen come from? Because there was always freedmen in the United States, even the 13 colonies. Hold on, Christmas access was a freedman. So wait a minute.
If slave masters made them with the fucking slaves, fam. That's what they come from.
Free Blacks come from. There you go. Now you let the smoke come out your ears on that one.
You know what the word manumission means? Have you heard of the word manumission?
He landed.
Have you heard of the word manumission?
Have you heard of the word manumission?
I still have an echo.
Oh, the Skywalker. Hold on, Mr. Skywalker. Leave it and come back, Skywalker. You got too much background noise going on. Go ahead, Q Butter. I'm gonna pass it back to Nakara. Then Dr. Anthony, you want to add?
May I ask the question to Q Butter, and Q Butter can build on it. And
Q up here.
How you doing?
God.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Q Butter, everything you said, you're making great points. That's why I was wanting to follow up again, so you can kind of build on it. You're talking about where can we find unity? Again, on this side of the world, I see how the system of colonization has affected the people of the diaspora of Black Germany, Black, and I do see that Christianity I think it's a huge problem, and I think that when both sides deconstruct Christianity and walk away from that and seeing how Christianity is such a capitalistic mindset and how it's tied to capitalism, I think when we as Americans lose this money god, we will find ourselves, and it'll be the same with them possibly. And maybe that's where we could find unity. But do you think that by us deconstructing Christianity and walking away from it, that might be the way that we could, on both sides, find common ground and maybe unity?
I think the easiest thing with the find grounds is understanding white folks. Like the sisters earlier, like very few people talk about the rebellions, and we should spend more time studying the realities that the rebellions presented to us. With Queen Nanny, her treaties, like she washed the British, but her treaty was that she can't free any more Africans. Francisco Menendez, his treaty, the first free town in America, United States, you had to be a Christian. You know what I mean? So escaping the British and going down south to Florida, you had to go in to become Christian. And so how we understand our integrated reality in this hemisphere with white folks really creates some of these experiences. And then if you look at the truly like separate societies like the Garifuna or the Geechee or some of the other people in like Guyana or there's areas of Black people who escaped and they stayed as like people are trying to rewrite the history of Maroons, but these are Africans who escaped into different territories and stayed as themselves and escaped. And so, but once they got back into connection with the world of colonization, it still is the reality. Right now, people in what is it? In I forgot what country it is. The Blacks in the Africans in these countries, once they come out of the little, their areas, they got to deal with white folks. And the reality in America is white folks. The reality of all of our political fights was white folks. The reality of our removal of history is white folks. It's not Black people jumping up and saying, remove our history. It's not Black people saying we shouldn't be benevolent. It's white. The elephant in the room has been white folks. And I think politically, we've removed ourselves from being able to say it was white folks that did that. You know what I mean? And then it turned into like our gaslighting. No, it's literally historically proven and factually dated. It's still going. You could look up 2025 has research that literally states that what's holding Black people back from STEM, white racism. What is stifling Black ownership in America? Facts. White racism and lying. Like this is not unknown data. It's just who's standing in the conversation to make the statement. You know what I mean? Like this is about us being able to sustain ourselves and thrive. Like when people summarize the civil rights movement, I'll be quick. It was about competing, you know what I mean, and thriving as a community, sustaining ourselves, and that's the reality, the competition, and what we're doing. Supremacy.
Yeah. All right, Nakira, if you want to add to the convo, then I'm gonna pass it to back to Dr. Angela. Then I gotta pass it to Wall Street Willie.
Okay, no, you can go ahead to Dr. Angela.
No, go ahead, Dr. Angela. I'm pass it to Willie.
Peace. Thank you. First, I want to say that this is my first time on your program, so thank you for having me. I come with no vitriol whatsoever. It's not my spirit. It's not my countenance. It's not how I move with people. And so because I identify as FBA, but also, identify as a woman of African descent, I feel like I'm right there in the middle. So whatever energy, you all conjure is not reciprocating the energy that I'm bringing to you. I come in peace. I think this is a healthy and needed debate, and I don't think it's actually new because back when we also have Black nationalists and we have Pan-Africanists. And so this is not a new paradigm that we're going through, but I wanted to just speak to a couple of things. I wanted to speak to the relationships because I think that we should be clear on individual relationships versus institutional relationships. I've been going to Africa since 2001, so that's 25 years now. And I have deep relationships in several countries. I have bonus children that I take as sons and daughters, sisters and brothers and elders. And so I'm not speaking from someone that doesn't have extensive, deep travel experience at all levels in several countries, East, West, Central, and South. So just to so that understanding is there. So I have good relationships with people on the continent, the Caribbean, sisters and brothers in Europe, and here, interpersonal relationships. What my point is about the institutional relationships, and I made an analogy to a mother and a child earlier, and how institutions treat the diaspora, children of the diaspora, how those governments, those heads of states, and it's cool if the framework is transactional, and if that's our baseline, that's fine, because the ones with the most resources will win, because Africa is a pay-to-play culture, and so is America, to a certain extent. But we also have love in our families. Many of us probably had the Kool-Aid house, where all the children on the street came to your house to play basketball and to get a sandwich and do the overnight. And so there's the cultural, social dynamic of it, and then there's the transactional, like familiar culture of it. And then there's the transactional, like, I need citizenship. Okay, buy a house here in Fumba Town, 150K, we'll give you, your work permit. So if that's the baseline, and once we agree on that, no problem, everybody understands. But the issue is the diaspora don't understand that. They're emotional and feel like, some people feel like they have a right to return to the motherland. And when you get there for the first time, you're emotional. You put your foot on the soil, you're weeping and crying, and you feel the spirit of the ancestors. So it's an emotional connection. So I think, understanding and really being clear about, are we talking about individual relationships and the cultural dynamic? Or are we talking about transacting?
You don't think the community dynamic isn't...
Let me finish my point, brother. Thank you. And then I'll land my plane. So I just wanted to put that out there, food for thought. But the question, the topic is, Black America really part of the African diaspora? And this hasn't been brought up tonight. When you go to the African Union's definition of diaspora, it means brothers and sisters born in Africa that moved out of Africa and lived somewhere outside the continent. The historical diaspora, those of us foundational Black Americans of African descent who've been in this land, our family's been in this land for hundreds of years, are not today, 2026, included in that definition of diaspora. So if we're asking, is Black America really part of the African diaspora? We need to consider who are you asking the question? Who needs to recognize you as a diaspora? Because if it's the African Union and you were born here in America, the short answer is no. If you're asking a brother and sister out of Jamaica or Trinidad or live in the UK, then maybe they'll say yeah. Or I'm asking the brothers and sisters here, they may say yes. So that's something to think about and to just know. And then I wanted to also address the scholarship about Ivan Van Sertima. And thank you, sister, for letting me know that his work had been debunked. I was first introduced to him at the University of Cincinnati in the engineering program, and our professor had us read that as a group of Black or minority students in engineering, so that we could find a sense of pride about our being. And so I read that when I was like 18, 19 years old. And I know Baba Ranoko Rashidi, who I know personally, also connected himself to the work of Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, so I gave it credibility. So I'm learning. I heard that his work was debunked, but that's new information to me. So I welcome your references and resources to discredit him. But lastly, I'll just say that in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, we have to ask ourselves about Brother Julius Malema, who many think is the last Pan-Africanist in Africa, because if Pan-Africanism is valued on the continent, around the globe, then why is there not a voice or an outcry for that brother who, has stood 10 toes down on the cause of Pan-Africanists? It kind of sends a message to those of us who want to champion Pan-Africanism, like, okay, you out there by yourself. If something happened, who's gonna come to your rescue? And
he spoke it up from Malema. Dynast did a show on it.
He did. I have to go back and check it out. But I like that brother. But at the end of the day, I think this is needed because we're dealing with an identity crisis, and we long have. If we go with the legal standing of who we are, to get our reparations, we was Negro on the roll, or maybe mulatto, but we've been colored, Afro-American, African-American, some identify as Black, melanated, Moors, now we got FBA, ADOS, and even the Geechee and the Maroons. And so this it's interesting that this one term creates so much, discussion. But I think it's healthy and that we can get to a space of moving together powerfully. Yeah. So anyway, in
Okay.
love,
All right,
solidarity.
let me pass it to Nakara. If you wanted to add, you can. I'll pass to Willie.
How's my sound? Sound?
Dang, it's cracking. Well, hold on. Talk now. But put the mic down.
Now? I'm about to
Put
turn
the
the
mic
mic off. That's why. How is it now?
It's still cracking.
Okay.
All right.
I
Q,
can
go
hear
ahead,
it
Willie.
clearly.
I passed after Willie. I passed the Q butter.
So peace, Dynast. I ain't been around in a while, man. It's good to be back. I'm glad to see my brother Q Butter here. I originally had a question for Nakara about her views of FBA, but since the other sister made certain points, I'd rather, direct those questions that way. So when you look at your relations in the continent, you said I feel like you have a global grasp. I'm curious as to how you identify as FBA.
I think she's left the panel, sir.
No, she's muted.
She said she used to be Pan-African though, so she like in the middle.
No, the other lady that he's referring to, he was wanting to speak to her. But I
Right.
think
No.
she left the
I
panel.
was speaking to the sister that just spoke. She's still
Yeah, the
here.
doctor.
Right.
She said she
Yeah,
used to
she's
be
left.
Pan-African. She said she used to be in the UNIA when the show first started.
Oh, she left?
Yes. So
She's
I
back.
didn't want him to. I didn't
She's
want him
back.
to ask her a bunch of questions, and then she wasn't
She's
here to
back
answer
now.
them.
I'm
No,
back.
I got
Okay.
you.
I came back. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I wanted to just kind of question her on the benefits of
I'm back.
identifying with.
Do you hear me?
I hear you, Queen.
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked with understanding, having a grasp of your understanding of the world, your travels and whatnot, and your identification with FBA. Because I always view them as very problematic. And one of the major issues that I have is globally, we've started to become defined by FBA, right? If you're an American Black, you're FBA. I don't identify with FBA at all because I've done the homework on what they stand on, right? I root two sissies, right? That's not my holiday, right? When they talk about the Tutnese language, a lot of this stuff for me is just ahistoric. It's not valid. So I'm just curious as to why you, as a Black American that does have an understanding of the world, would identify with that group. And I'm being honest that I'm framing that question from the standpoint that I don't. They don't represent me. They're just a club to me. If anything, they tether off of my Black history, right? My Pan-African, my, Black American history. So I was just curious on why you identify with them.
Excellent question. Thank you, brother, for posing the question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's really simple for me. When I heard the terminology, when I identify as Black American, before the term even came up, and Black American is even controversial in some spaces, right? The word Black is controversial in some spaces. Black is a color, it's a racial construct. So, the reason why I identify with foundational Black America, it was based on my understanding of the definition. And my understanding of the definition is that a foundational Black American is someone who can trace their lineage back to the slave trade here in the US. And I personally am able to trace my lineage back to enslavement here in the US. And so that's why I identify as foundational Black American. And it's just as simple as that. But if it was a matter of me not liking someone's philosophy or ideology or methodology, then I probably would take on a whole new identity. Because when I saw Al Sharpton up in there with the Ghanaian president, I mean, his politics don't represent me at all, but he's also a Black man. So I didn't base my, affiliation or my identification or acceptance of the term because of sharing somebody's total beliefs. I just base it on the definition of that I can trace my lineage back to the enslavement here in the U.S. That's all. Full stop.
Now, and that was a great answer. One of the reasons I asked that question was because, I get the aspect of one to identify and be separate from everything else. But even when you preface your comments, you were very careful in saying, I'm not an antagonist. I'm not, coming to attack. And I'm only bringing that up because I think you would agree. You understand that that's how FBA is viewed because that's what they're known for. They're not necessarily known for their progress, their efforts, any type of legislation or unification, any of that, right? They're known for being trolls. They're known for the term tether. And so that, for me, is one of the reasons why I choose not to identify with that, no matter how much from low country South Carolina I am, right? Not South Carolina, South, SOUSC, right? Like real, true Black Americans who can, as you pointed out, attach ourselves back years, 1800s, 1700s, right? So when I look at things like the AME church, I see my people already knowing who they were and defining themselves. I always view it as we delineated a long time ago. So I don't see a need for it now. I actually see it as counterproductive. And that's an argument I've had here. Dinus will tell you more than once because when Africans, continental Africans, hear that term, it becomes very tribal. Just like they are when we hear how much everybody hates the Fulani and the Igbo and the Hausa. I listen to my brothers from the continent fight those fights. But we seem to only get thrown in it from the aspect of being tribal as well. And one of the things that I think makes the even question of Black Americans being a part of the diaspora totally invalid is because of what we were able to create here. It was always understood. This is, kind of the home of the diaspora to a certain degree. And we always welcomed others that were trying to fight their fight and help us fight ours. So for me, when I hear that, and I'm gonna land here because I know I went on for a minute. Thank you, Dinus, for not crashing on me. But I can't identify with that term because I don't see a need to. My ancestors identified themselves as Black, African Americans, decades, centuries ago. I don't see a need to reinvent the wheel,
Actually,
especially
that's
when
not
this
true.
group.
Will, that was a lie. African American did not become widespread until 1980s when Jesse Jackson got his marching
But
orders for the
but brother, I
DNC to
didn't say
pauperize
widespread.
it. Let's
I
let's
didn't say
not let no.
widespread.
We're not going to tell lies here. We're gonna tell the truth.
But wait, you cut me off. I didn't say widespread, and I'm interested in your opinion as
Okay,
well,
but it
right?
wasn't even
Hold
it
on, hold
wasn't
on.
remotely widespread. We're gonna speak. Let's tell
But
the
let's be
truth.
clear though.
Because there's a lot of problem that goes on. There's a lot of bad faith arguments and outright lies and slander. And if y'all
But
want
wait,
unity,
just let
hold
me
on. You
say
cannot
one
have
thing,
unity if you're gonna
because you
tell
cut me off.
half
You cut me
truths
off.
or
So
outright
I want to
lies.
give
Okay,
you
I
the
just
floor,
made the
Black.
point. So we clear that
I
the
want to
African
give you
American
the floor, Black.
African American did not become widespread until 1980s after Jesse Jackson popularized it, not created, but
So I wouldn't
popularized
even
and spread it.
necessarily disagree with that,
Hold
right?
on.
But when you
Okay,
cut me
good.
off,
As long as we
wait, wait,
clear on
wait,
that point,
wait,
Oh,
because
wait,
all
wait,
about is
wait.
passport king. Come.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
So I
ahead.
wouldn't even necessarily disagree when you say kind of mass produced, right? But what I'm saying is the reality is my ancestors, those that I look to as griots, heroes in my life, many of them were identifying as, they were literally defining what African American was, while Jesse Jackson wasn't even in his daddy's nutsack yet, right? His daddy it wasn't even in puberty, right? And this was already a documented term that Black people were defining. That's what I'm connected to, right? I get your point about mass produced. Same way FBA now is being mass produced. But what I'm saying is the things that my ancestors did and how they defined themselves, that was good enough for me. When you talk about that AME church and go all the way back to 1817, these are black people saying we are African Methodist Episcopal. Now, Methodist Episcopal may have been crazy, right? That may have been connecting ourselves with something goofy in itself. But there was that understanding that our foundation is African. And this is from ancestors who are closer to the original history than I am. Those ancestors I would have to learn from. So I'm not saying that everyone was calling themselves African American, but it kind of became one of those things of once you learned about it, yeah, it made sense. So I don't bang on Jesse for that. Make sense?
Let me
No, it don't
Nakara,
make sense because
let me
it.
hold on, Passport King. Go ahead,
I want to
Nakara.
hear
Let
his
me pass
response though,
the cue
Dynast.
button. Go ahead, Nakara.
Can you guys hear me?
Nakara. We're gonna just fight through it. Go ahead.
No.
No, go ahead.
Is it fine? Um, okay, there was a few points that I wanted to make, but I do want to talk about the Ghana situation, particularly on the conversation about institutional relationships and individual relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If it's crazy, please let me know if my audio is not.
It's not.
Oh, I will.
It's not that
Okay,
bad. Go
okay.
ahead.
I'll let you know, Queen.
I think it is really important, again, because I don't have a relationship with perfectionism, because I don't come from a perfect culture. I don't come from an overly righteous culture where everybody has done
Facts.
everything correctly. And so, one of the things that I think is really important is to also know that there are Black Americans in Ghana right now who are also displeased with the way that the government is handling the citizenship situation at this particular time, right? But I think that's what relationship building is, especially when you understand the history of Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah made a relationship with Black Americans, which helped him to gain independence in the country of Ghana. That's something to really make sure that we understand when people say, what has Pan Africanism done for anybody? It got Ghana
Right.
free, for one.
Sis, can I ask you two questions? And I
But let
hate
me
to
finish. I know,
interrupt.
but let me finish really quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Because, and the reason why I mention that is because when you look at Ghana's presidential history, and not to be a shameless plug, but you can get that presidential history on my website, a very brief history, a breakdown of understanding how many coups d'etats happened in Ghana specifically, which is very similar to what happened to like Thomas Sankara and these other African presidents that many of our pioneers have always highlighted. It's important to understand that the West has always played a role
Yeah.
in destabilizing these African nations shortly after they became independent because the colonizers never wanted these African nations to become independent.
Drop your
So
link, sis. I want to see that info.
it's my screen name, GriotDynast.com. That's my
Gotcha.
domain. And so it's important to understand that these governments are not all the same. These presidents are not all the same. There are people still in Ghana who are descendants of Kwame Nkrumah's ops. Sorry? Oh, okay. There are people who are descendants of the Katoka family, which was the name of the airport, which has now recently been changed to Accra. Like, these are things that we have the privilege, I think is a privilege, to witness happen, because I didn't get to witness the 50s and 60s. I didn't get to witness the 80s. I didn't get to witness the 1800s, right? So I personally find it a privilege to be able to see Africa in their individual countries go through this transition that we got to experience. So I'm very clear that there are things that we have to work through, but that's what I think relationship building is. It's we're gonna have to come to those understandings and those agreements. And there's a variety. There's a list of things that I disagree with when it comes to Ghana. I don't have this. Again, I don't have this utopia viewpoint of it. There, and something that I think is really important, and not to be very controversial, but the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, who started the year of return, respectfully, I learned from Ghanaians, is actually a descendant of slave trading families. So I can't fault how these other administrations have to kind of clean up that behavior or some of the rhetoric or some of the disconnections that we saw during the year of return that many of us wanted, because I wrote a whole essay at my HBCU about year of return as soon as it happened, and I was completely against it because I knew that slavery and the transatlantic slave trade was not really told in a way that I think was beneficial to Ghanaians at the point where year of return came. I wrote about that because even the dungeons, when I go to the tour in the dungeons, I still think some of the story is a little distorted. I think that some of the story is not 100% honest. But again, this is a journey, just like how all of our identities are a journey, right? And so I think it is really important to understand that, like what Q Butter was saying, is that Ghana got independence in 1957. There are people in the country who are older than Ghana, which means that they remember when it was a white T man running things. They remember when it was a white T British woman running things. And I think because we who are born now, we are just used to white T people running our country, right? But if you can, for just 2 seconds, think about being an 80-year-old person in Ghana, and the first 10, 15 years of your life, there was a white T person running your country. And now your country is what it is, right? And the records show that the Ashanti, there were people in the Ashanti who begged the British to not allow the independence, right? Like, so we know that those dichotomies exist, and those dualities and things like that exist, where there are ops within us, right? So I think that, like, that, but again, that's just not enough for me to delineate my identity,
Where'd
delineate
you
what
go to school, sis?
things like that. Sorry,
Which HBCU?
I don't give them clout. So, but I do want to make
Don't do that to me. I only asked because you brought it up. I was just curious.
No, I know, but I went to a PWI, I went to University of Ghana, and I went to an HBCU.
Good.
And I'll just say that. But there was another point that I wanted to make, but I think I'm going to wait for you guys to finish your conversation. But yes, Dr. Angela, I really appreciate your perspective, and I think that it's really important that we continue to have these conversations, because a lot of especially what you said, the conversations that we're having today are not new. We know that these are the same similar conversations that Du Bois was arguing back and forth with folks about, right? Frederick Douglass was arguing with folks about, Marcus Garvey was arguing with folks about, and they were not perfect in the things that they were saying. We can say today that there were loopholes in what they were saying, right? But then we can also say, but there were benefits. There were things that we can still continue, whether it's business, ideologies. I think that sometimes with us as Black Americans, we take some of these ideologies as whole, and then we stop. And we don't expand them over time. We don't add on to them. Sometimes we just throw them away once we disagree with something. And I think that we have to always keep in mind that it might have been right for that time, where racism was at that time. And as things progress, I think we as people, our elders, and we that are younger, we need to continue those conversations instead of trying to repeat the same thing over and over and over. And then when it doesn't work for us anymore at this particular time, just throwing it away. And I think that's sometimes what we tend to do in our culture. We don't pass the baton enough. And we sometimes just throw things away, even though we could have just expanded. So like the way that I saw Jesse Jackson pass, the way that people had the audacity, who have not done anything close for the community or culture as what Jesse Jackson did, to call him names. People who can trace their history and their lineage back in this country, to call him names, to throw him away, to do all of these things. I just want us to love each other past our differences and our disagreements if we are going to be a part of a culture and community that we're all fighting for.
Keep cooking, Queen. Please come to my man Q Butter platform. Like, that's kind of home for me. But you have been cooking, sis. And one question I had, I was curious. When you decided to go to the University of Ghana, was that an independent thing, or did you do that through your PWI?
Yeah, San Francisco State, which is the first Africana Studies, Black Studies degree program in the country. At my school in Temple, we go back and forth about that, but San
Oh
Francisco State is the
Lord,
first
sis,
Africana Studies, Black Studies degree program. My
sis,
mentor and
sis.
professor was Dr. Obatashaka. So
Okay,
you can look him up, look up
over
his
to
books.
Shaka.
He is still alive. Theophile Obenga was also a chair of my department at a point in time. So I come
Definitely
from a
salute
very
him.
long lineage of educators, of Black educators. But yeah, I went to the University of Ghana as a study abroad student for a year. So I did 2 full semesters through SF State.
Sis, when I tell wifey, oh Lord, I was just building with a sister from Temple. Oh, she's gonna lose her mind because my wife went to Temple as well. And yeah, I know about their history in terms of certain studies. So salute to you. I love it.
Dynast, let me get 2 minutes, man. He went to the you there? If you ain't, I'm finna take off.
He might have stepped away for a second.
All right,
That was a good build
I
from
want
the
to reply
sister.
to what Dr. Sale said when she was speaking 2 points. You brought up Black nationalism and Pan-Africanism when it pertains to FBA, and that's my bag right there. FBA are not Black nationalists. No FBAs are proponents of us having our own nation. Most of them will tell you America is our nation. So Black nationalism has absolutely nothing to do with FBA. Tariq Nasheed will never talk about separation, and that's what Black nationalism is about. Furthermore, to be a Black nationalist, you have to have some aspect of Pan-Africanism, because if we're going to be a nation, we not only have to be recognized by other nations as a nation, we have to have allies. And common sense gonna tell you, if you're a Black race, your other allies are gonna be Black nations. Furthermore, when you spoke about this,
brother,
hold
slow
on,
down for a
hold
second.
on,
Hold on, I'm not cutting
hold
you off.
on.
No,
Let
no,
me
no, no, no,
finish,
no,
and
no.
then you can rebuttal, bro. I
Hold
just
on,
said
hold
I
on. The
got 2
brother
It's
was
minutes.
not
Bro.
done. Let
Let
him
me
rebut. It's a
finish.
finish his point.
question.
Can I
Okay,
finish,
finish your
fam?
point.
Then you
The
can ask
brother,
me a
the
question.
brother
I'm
was
not done
almost
talking,
finished.
brother.
He was
Okay,
cooking.
you can continue. Finish your point.
Damn, man. I know you got a lot of
Go
white
ahead, brother.
ancestors,
Go ahead.
man.
Go ahead.
Look, when you spoke about the 6th region, we are included in the 6th region. If you go to au6rg.org, it says in Ghana, in the African Union. Y'all can hear that?
Yeah, the 6th region was an amendment to the original diaspora through Article
Now somebody
3Q
got an
and
echo.
July 11th, 2000 and let me see, what year was that?
I think you got an echo.
I got an echo. I'm gonna come off. You hear me now?
I can hear you, but I hear something in the background too.
She don't have an echo.
Maybe it's just your side. They said I don't have an echo. I was getting ready to agree with you because the original Durban Declaration Plan of Action that brought forth the issues of racism, xenophobia, and the diaspora that was adopted by the African Union, when they settled on their definition of diaspora, it did not include historical diasporans. Then later, there was an amendment to the resolution called Article 3Q. And that's when the 6th region, all the children outside of Africa were recognized as a 6th region. So I'm very familiar with that documentation. And to your point about Black nationalism, I'm not saying that FBAs are Black nationalists. I'm saying that Black people in America have not always had the same ideology, was my comparison. Some had thought about how we should nation build in one way, and others thought how we should nation build.
But I just wanted to make that point directly clear that they are not Black
Okay,
nationalists
that's cool,
at all.
but
They're not
respect.
Black nationalists.
All
And
right, now,
to your
good
point
King
about the 6th
Justice.
region, I
Hold
know
on.
it was
No. Before you go off a million miles
Go
a
ahead,
minute.
Mullah.
No,
Go
because
ahead,
you
bro.
finished your point. I gotta ask you something.
Go ahead.
You took a swipe at FBA, and I want to call you out right
do it
now, but in a
again.
respectful way. Tell me, what is the Pan-Africanness, as you understand it, plan to have their nation within the United States or elsewhere in the planet? Go ahead. I'm going to be quiet now and listen to you.
First of all, you need to understand ideologies. You would be asking, what's the Black nationalist plan? That's not the
No
Pan-African
tap dancing.
plan,
I want to
brother.
hear, what is
I'm
the
not tap dancing. I'm
Pan-Africanist
answering
plan
your
for a
question,
nation?
bro.
Okay.
The plan for us to get a nation was already laid down in 1968 by the Republic of New Africa. All we had to do, the people that agree that we need a nation, is actually build the infrastructure and fucking separate. That's what we got to do. That's what hasn't been done.
Wait a minute.
We haven't built any cities or any communities that are self-sustaining. We don't have mass grocery stores, mass imports, mass exports, militias. That's what you have to have a nation.
Okay, and tell me, how are these other allies, I'll use that term, in the diaspora, whether they're in the Caribbean or African, how are they helping us in the United States to achieve that?
You have to help yourself first. When they see us organized in mass, they will come and help us, brother.
So
We
wait a
not
minute, we
organized
got
in mass.
okay, hold on, stop, slow down. So if we have to do it all on our own, what the hell do we need them for?
You're literally not listening. I said we have
No,
to
no,
help
I'm not. It's a simple.
ourselves
No, no, hold on.
first
I did
before
not
they can
stutter.
help
That's a
us.
simple,
Even if
straightforward
they
question.
over there
If
and
we have
saying
to do
y'all
it
become
all
a
on our
nation, if we're
own,
not
what do
organized,
we
we're not
need
gonna get
them
it done,
for?
genius.
Because it sounds like it sounds like what you're
Because in
saying is, hold
international
on.
law,
It
something
sounds
that
like
is
what you're
over your
basically
brain,
saying. No, no,
brother,
it's
you
not
have
over
to
my
be
head.
recognized by
Because it
other
sounds like you're
nations.
saying that we need to build it up first on our own, and
Yeah,
then
it's
these
gonna be
other
our
groups.
nation. We have to
Hold
build it,
on,
genius.
hold on. We have to build it up on our own, and then these other groups get to come in, and how are they going to contribute to it?
No, bro. Nobody said that, bro. We
Okay,
have to
then what are
build
you
our
saying?
nation. Other nations have to recognize you as a nation, bro. You have to have 4 functions to be a nation. You have to have population. We got population. You have to have government. You got to have territory. You got to have sovereignty. Your sovereignty is independence recognized by other nations, brother. I majored in political science, bro. You don't know shit about none of this.
So basically you're saying then that, so to have a nation, you're also going to have a military, right?
You have to have a military.
Do you and the Pan-Africans plan on going into physical war with the United States government to...
Bro, that goes without fucking saying, bro. How else you gonna get a nation, bro? How is this gonna happen, bro? The first president of Republic of New Africa was Robert Williams, bro. He waged protracted war against the United States. The second president, Mario Badali, was sentenced to 11 years for shootouts with the police, bro. Like, this shit been happening. Black Liberation Army, Black nationalists, and Pan-African. Assata Shakur, Republic of New Africa.
No, it's not.
Shout out with the cops, bro. What are you talking about?
I'm hearing
what the fuck has
dancing.
FBA ever done?
So,
Hey, guy, let me read the super chats. Kevin Dill, 1987. Thank you for $1.99 holla. Passport King is watching y'all. Kevin Dill, 1987. Thank you for $1.99 holla. Touring and slave legend is cringe to the max. L Uro, thank you for $10 holla. If Africans are serious about Pan-Africanism, why they never mention or talk about Brazil? Most Africans from trade are there. Makes believe this is about money.
Let me also ask something else. Why is this need to only put this African moniker on blacks in the diaspora? I'm going to use that term in the United States of America who are descended from slaves and freedmen. Why don't y'all fight hard to put African in front of Jamaicans, in front of Haitians, Trinidadians, Bahamians, the Afro peoples in Brazil? How come you don't fight to put the Africans in front of them? No, I'm not making a joke. It's a straightforward question.
Brother. What? No, it is.
Okay, so how come they don't identify? Why don't they identify as African?
That's their prerogative, bro. They have nations. Jamaicans are Jamaicans nationality.
Hold on. Stop now. You just said
we are American paper citizens,
so they can choose not to identify as it. So if a large,
the same way you chose not to identify with it.
So if a large critical mass of U.S. slavery descendants, freedmen,
it's never gonna happen. Y'all not a large mass. Y'all don't even got a million people that identify as FBA.
We collectively say in mass,
it's never gonna happen.
This African, is never gonna happen because it's in process. We collectively say this African American term should have never been put on us. It was a psyop. It was a mistake, and we reject it. So that by your words, we have a right to reject it as well.
We'll wait it out and see.
I think we're going to see within the next 10 years because the evidence is crystal clear what a psyop this term has been and how insidious the agenda. Because like they say, hindsight is 20/20. When Jesse Jackson popularized that term in the 1980s, we went with it because we thought, yeah, this is a good idea. We didn't recognize the machinations above and behind Jesse Jackson that was playing the long game, and we see the effects today. Because let me say this real quick, and I'm not trying to filibuster or nothing. These same groups that you talk all this kumbaya Pan-Africanist stuff with, let me tell you about many of these Caribbean African immigrants. They have not dozens, they have hundreds of organizations that promote only their people in their country. Black Americans, whether they go by Freedmen, FBA, ADOS, Sulon, we're not in those organizations. Those organizations, they get money from taxpayers. We get no parts of it. But when we get so-called scholarships, they apply and they get it. Tell me, where's the Pan-Africanism in that?
Because you don't control this nation, genius.
Hold on. That's not nation. Those are those immigrant groups in this country with organizations just for them. So you trying to tell me that as an evil plot by the white man to separate us from them?
Where did the funds for Diaspora come from, genius?
Am I making this up? Am I lying? Do I need to start pulling up organizations for you right now and put in the chat to show you how many organizations exist just for black immigrants?
Brother, they come from the government, the white man, not us.
So it's the white man doing it, and these other groups they really want to unify with us. That's what you're saying.
I think can I interject here, bro? Like real quick,
please. Anyone, it's open. I'm quiet now. I'm listening.
I mean, like I would suggest that Black Americans in Ghana should create a group for Black Americans in Ghana. You know, if you're in another country, it makes sense to connect with people who have similarities with you.
They already have that. There's a Caribbean Association. There's an African American Association of Ghana, which has been transferred to African descendants of Ghana. There's an African Diaspora Research Group of Ghana. So go ahead.
Exactly. I mean, like it's just logical. So I think and the hyper focus on it is not necessary. The degrees. And I think that should be where the conversation is focused with the FBA conversation and the Pan-African conversation in terms of explicit servicing. And if you're going to use the word delineation, contextualize it to the specific types of services that need to be directed towards a specific type of people. And it's just that easy, you know what I mean? And having the conversation is still going to be centered around education. You know, America's not closing the doors to people that's going to come here and make money for America. Black, Chinese, Indian, doesn't matter. So it makes more sense for us.
FBAs and ADOS are not even saying that we're not, well, some may, but the majority, we got no control over that. All we're saying is, you know what? We need to recognize our specific lineage. Just recognizing our lineage does not make us a hate group. Hold on.
Forget if it's cool, you can recognize it. It's just in the sense of it, like what I get confused with, like the potentiality for business. And when we say tangibles, like let that be the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't like the brother right here, just so he's a political science person. He has his background in that.
Okay, let's talk tangible. What do you mean? Can you give me a little more context? I'm not being facetious. I'm not being.
No, you're on a panel with tangibles right now, and it's a matter of how you organize the tangibles to make sense of it. Like she's in Ghana.
How is this tangibles right now?
Food, clothing, and shelter, brother.
Well, for one, when you have a network that increases the access you have to resources and capital, that increases the access you have to different types of people. So one, if you're on a panel with somebody who's a doctor, you know what I mean, to me, the interest, even if there's things that have made me, contrary to what she might have had opinion to what she said, my interest is still greater to the point of like, she's a doctor. What kind of network does she has? The sister here is showing that she travels around the space. She just told you she's one of the students at the head of San Francisco State College. Like, I don't know what you heard in that conversation in terms of like, when you say networking, that is the point of it. Like, this is the first Black studies program in California in America. So if you are looking to work with a college and she tells you that, like, that's networking, right? And we should be organizing our minds around that. I don't attack, like, I have fun with the Pan-African conversation and the FBA conversation. At the end of the day, it's like, what are we actually doing? Like, the shortfalls in the community are the reality. We're not producing enough doctors in the Black community. We're not producing enough engineers in the Black community. Pick one. Pick Ghana, New Jersey, New York City, Georgia, whichever one you want to pick.
Q brother, pause for, I'm not trying to say your name wrong. Q brother, I hope I said it right. Pause for 1 second. I'm glad you mentioned that point about doctors and engineers, because what you just said is a very important point. No one I said earlier about how when Black immigrants from the Caribbean and America come in, they have organizations set up for them that's for their people. And look, most FBAs and ADOS, we say, that's cool, but guess what? They're double dipping. So when you mention doctors and engineers, like for instance, they recently, almost 2 years ago now, got rid of affirmative action in colleges. But prior to that, when they did have that, and it wasn't just in colleges, I think it also applied to medical schools and law schools. Guess what? FBA, ADOS, let's just say U.S. slavery descendants and freemen who are Black, non-immigrant Black Americans, they would have to compete against Black immigrants. It wasn't anything that was specific for us.
No, there's
And
no.
the thing,
When you say this, bro, that's gravely incorrect. The reason why it was set up was because white people did not want to allow black people to get contracts with the government. And so the
but black
government
people
had to
can't
step
get
in.
contracts with the government.
No,
That's
that
not
was the whole
correct.
the original bill was centered on black people getting contracts. Jim Crow was the culture of keeping black people out through business. As much as it was culturally, you got to set your business up over there. You can't compete with us over here. You can't take these type of clients. You can't, like, the idea of sustainability is tied to business and it's tied to education. And so
Well, I'm
we
trying to read
separate
that.
those points in the sense of black people's pursuit for education in America. Black people's pursuit for religious freedom in America has been centered around African studies and African centers. So when you're saying Africa, and I'm like, yo, the African Epitapist Church, like you have the African Methodist Church. These things are 200 years old, 250 years old. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
But
these
guess
things
what?
have been around.
Okay,
The oldest
hold on.
schools, the
Pure butter.
oldest
You mentioned the
schools,
African
the
Methodist
oldest
Episcopal
schools,
Church, the
the
AME
oldest
Church.
schools.
Hold on. Did
Nah, I
the
just want to finish
AME
the point.
Church?
The
Hold on.
oldest
This is a very
schools. I
important
just want to
question.
finish my
Wait,
point.
you're filibustering.
You
I'm
gotta
not
stop
filibustering.
interrupting people, bro.
I don't
I
really
wanna
have
pick
any
up
reason
on
to
a
talk
point.
to you, bro. Like, I
Did
just,
it,
I'd
no,
rather,
because
I
you've
want to
been
just
speaking
talk to
for
the
a while.
host
I'm
and the other
listening.
brother.
I'm trying to
You
build
can't
on
listen
what you're
while you
saying.
interrupt
I'm not
somebody,
just
brother.
talking to
You
talking.
can't,
This is called
you
a
can't
dialogue.
listen while you
Hold on.
interrupt.
I am listening, and I'm
You
trying to
can't do
build
that,
on the
bro. I'm
point
just
you
telling you,
just
I don't
said.
really want to converse with you, honestly.
Hold on.
There's no
Did
point.
the AME Church start in the United States of America, or did it start in Africa?
It started in what are you talking about? You have the
What are you talking
Philadelphia.
No, where did it start? Did it start in the
Bro,
United
I
States
don't
of
know,
America,
bro.
or
No,
did
it
it start
started
in
in
Africa?
it started in Brazil.
Really? It started in
Like,
Brazil.
what's the point?
You really
bro?
believe that?
No, bro. This is why the conversation with you is not for me relevant or anything that's gonna go anywhere. I don't really
No,
want to
because
disrespect you
see, there's
on
a
this
lot of
platform. I'm just being honest. I don't want to
disingenuousness here.
disrespect you. I'd rather not have
No,
a dialogue with
it's not
you.
about being disrespectful. Here's my point. And again, for the delineation movement, regardless of the term that people, because there's different.
Hey guys, I got to read the super chat. PCH Rise 1559. Thank you for turning holla. Our ancestors had to suffer filthy farms and plantations, and now we suffer FBA in America, celebrating it as ethnogenesis. Proud of they sprang from white folk and Indians. This is miserable.
Here's the problem, and this is what delineation is about. It's been very one-sided, and this is why Pan-Africanism is also rejected by those who delineate whatever term they
Bro,
may
but
use.
we're
It's a
rejecting your
very
talking point,
one-sided,
bro.
and look, I'm
It's
not
your
trying to hurt
one-sided
people's
talking
feelings.
point, and the
It's
conversation is
one-sided and it's
one-sided.
parasitic.
All right, that's cool.
Black
What's
immigrants
yours?
benefit.
Okay, but
Black
Passport King, when you
Americans
say
don't.
Passport King, when you
Yo,
say
talk.
one sided, what do you mean exactly?
Who is this guy?
Okay,
Like, his opinion
one
is
side
not
is
even
easy.
needed.
How has
Like, what makes your opinion
Hold on, okay,
worthless?
look, I'm
Like,
saying it right now.
let's talk as men. Why should we even listen to you? What do you bring to the table as a black man in America? Why do you even have a voice? Let's keep it real. If this was basketball, if you can't dunk, shoot, you can't talk. This is boxing. You can't throw a jab. You can't get in the drink. Why should we listen to you? Table
You
talk.
don't have to listen. You can look.
Then why should you talk?
You can plug your ears and say,
No, but I'm just saying, why
I
should
can't
your
hear
opinion
you.
even be
Only thing you're
used?
doing is you're refusing to listen to another point.
No,
And
I'm
that's not a
asking you,
sign-
why should
that's
I'm
a-
asking you to
that's
validate
a
your
level of
opinion?
intellectual dishonesty.
No,
So
I'm
if you
being
wanna
very
come-
honest with you.
if you want to come
Why
with this
should your opinion matter?
Oh, why should my opinion matter? Okay,
Yes.
I'm in the United States of America, and I don't know if you ever heard something called the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights. The very first amendment
white
to the
men
Bill of
wrote it.
Rights is freedom of speech.
White men wrote it. And you didn't have freedom of speech when they wrote it, genius.
So, and now,
you was on a
are you
plantation
saying,
cutting
are
sugar
you
cane,
saying as a
dummy.
U.S. citizen, I don't have the right to freedom of speech? Now, you don't have to listen. That's your right, but I have freedom of speech. So are you trying to deny me my constitutional rights, and above my constitutional rights for those that believe rights as a human being, my God-given rights to have my own mind? Are you saying I don't have those rights?
I'm saying your rights is worthless.
It's either yes or no.
The
It's
display
either
of your rights is
no tap
dismissing
dance. It's either yes or no.
worthlessness.
I
It's
know you got a
worthless.
white
it's
grandma,
worthless?
bro.
That's
It's
not- that's not
worthless.
yes
I'll just
or
be
no.
honest. It's worthless. I don't know how to tell
What do you
you.
mean? What's
It's
worthless?
valueless. There's no point in what you're
All
saying.
right, we'll do this. Hold on, Passport King, don't interrupt. Q Butter, go ahead, and I gotta pass it to Nakara, and then we'll I'm gonna close out, but Nakara is still live, guys. So if Nakara wants to stay on, she
When you close out, let me
Shaking
get
her head.
45 seconds before you do.
Okay, Cuba, go ahead, Q Butter, then
Oh,
Nakara,
nah,
then
you did you block out those stream, bro. I was just listening to the convo, dope build, son. Sister tap in, dope build. I definitely tap into your channel and stuff. Like I got an institute programs. We just got recognized in multiple states. We on route to being accredited. Hopefully within this next week we'll have our
Hey,
candidacy.
Q Butter, you got to come on and just. In fact, see, I had the Senegal on Friday or Saturday. Q Butter, when I get back, you gotta just come on and do a show and just tell everybody what you're doing. What's
You already
new? What's
know,
going
bro.
on? Give everybody up to speed who might not know.
All right, good looks. Hell yeah. But definitely always trying to work, man. And just keep pushing the dudes. I see what you're doing, sis. Definitely support it. I love to either get you to speak to my students. I got mad females and just, however, the doctor was on it earlier. I'm always looking for people to talk to my students and get involved and just keep pushing the conversation. I showed my students your video once before Dynast. You got to make another one so I can show them you traveling around and you meeting with different people and stuff. It's good for them to see us, taking advantage of the networking capabilities and the internet. And I think that's the priority right now, network capabilities and how we're pushing ourselves.
All right, let me pass the good King Justice 45 seconds and then Nakara, then we'll close out.
All right, good show until it wasn't, but it's all good. Peace to Q, keep building, bro. I should have gave the 200 I gave the Umar to your ass. And Dynast, I know you a businessman. I love the shit out of you, bro. But man, sometimes, bro, you gotta watch who you bringing up here because these conversations just gonna.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, the panel's for everybody, man.
I feel that, but just get Passport King like 5 minutes every episode and then kick his mulatto ass off, bro. But yeah, peace, bro. Good show, man.
All right, Nakara, go ahead.
Was he done? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, shout out to everybody. Like I said, my website, Griot the Diaspora, it's a ongoing website. It's something that I edit all the time. Yeah, I mean, I think the conversation was great. But I do want to just reiterate what I was saying earlier for people who are coming in late and probably didn't hear some of the things that I said. My biggest thing is that my racial and cultural self-esteem is not going to be shaped by the negative experiences that I have within and outside of my community. Just how I accept that the culture here in America is not perfect. In a lot of ways, it is toxic. In a lot of ways, it is patriarchal. It is misogynistic. There's a lot of things that we need to be educated on. There's a lot of things that we need to do without. There's a lot of whiteness that we need to wash out of ourselves as well, in my personal opinion. And so, like Vigilante has said earlier, I'm all for goals. I'm all for supporting actual businesses and programs, not too much of people. And so when we talk about that, I think it's important to understand that, especially what Good King Justice said, I think that was his name, about sovereignty and all these things. There's so many things that we could be doing, like supporting your Black farmers in your state, who, we as Black Americans only make up 1% of land ownership in this country. So supporting those who do have land is a really important thing. That's one of the things that I do with Ghana, creating those dot connecting programs with farmers here, grocery store owners here, farmers markets, Black farmers market owners, with people who grow agriculture out in Ghana and in different African countries. Those are ways that we can actually show solidarity with each other when it comes to our health, when it comes to our culture that we're so proud of. There's a lot of different ways that we can show love to each other instead of forcing each other to identify as the same thing. So yeah, visit my website, subscribe to my channel. Thank you, Dynast, for having me.
No problem. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynast Amir, search for Huru. Peace.